Welcome to another edition of Check This Out. We're getting close to the end of the book of Philippians. We're going to finish out chapter 3 today. Do you remember it was years ago? Man, I wish I could remember when it was. I know it was a long time ago. It was a commercial on television. Remember Michael Jordan, the great the great basketball player? Sorry. Do you remember there was a commercial and the song used to sound like, I want to be like Mike. I want to be like Mike. Oh, that was the craze of the day, wasn't it? Just want to be like Mike. Want to jump like Mike. Want to run like Mike. Want to shoot like Mike. Want to dress like Mike. Want to make the money like Mike. He was the example, wasn't he? He was that one that everybody, well, not everybody, but if you were a sports fan and you enjoyed Michael Jordan, those people, he was the guy, man. He's my model. If I could only play like Mike, never mind anybody else. Even though other players were really great, but Michael Jordan, I want to be like Mike. Well, for today's edition of Check This Out, we're going to check out what the Apostle Paul says in the book of Philippians chapter 3, beginning in verse 17. Join together in following my example, brothers and sisters, and just as you have us as a model, keep your eyes on those who live like we do. Paul invites us to follow him and follow his example. Now, I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever, because it's in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, where the Apostle Paul says, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. So really, when we say we're following the example of Paul, we're actually following the example of Jesus. The Apostle Paul modeled the life of Christ in a very, very unique way. Oh, today, these days, folks all over the world have their models, their examples. Some people use television stars as their models. Oh, the reality shows. Oh, if my family could just be like that family. Or movie stars. Oh man, if I could just be like that one movie star, if I could just be like that actor, that actress, oh, that would be sufficient for me. And sadly, we read so often of how these folks that we have mistakenly set up as our examples come crashing down. Not very good examples after all. But the Apostle Paul says, now, watch what I do and follow my example. And then he says this, not only me, but the other people that are following the example of Jesus, follow them as well. Do you have somebody in your life that is so walking with Jesus that you would say, man, I'd love to have a walk with Jesus the way that person does? You as a sister in the Lord, do you have a woman in your life that you know that surely not perfect, of course not perfect, but they're walking with Jesus in such a way that it strikes your heart. It lifts your spirit. And when you are done talking with that person or whatever, you go, oh man, such wisdom, such peace, such transparency. What a confident individual in their walk with Jesus. Oh, I would love to follow their example. What is it about Paul that makes him such an incredible example for us to follow? I think that if I could sum it up, for me, if I could sum it up in one word, it would be perseverance. Man, it just kept going. I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, oh, yeah, Paul. And he didn't have 4 kids, all under the age of 10, living in his house. You know what that's like? You think I'm going to be able to live that life like Paul did? Or I just got laid off of work. I don't have money to pay my bills. You think that I'm going to be able to follow Paul as my example? Oh, Paul had it made. Oh, he didn't have creditors breathing down his neck. He didn't have people that were against him. Oh, my dear friend. Listen, the Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, he talks about being shipwrecked. He talks about being left for dead. In the book of Acts, there's times that he would be beaten so bad that they thought that he was already going to die. And yet he kept coming back. It didn't stop him. He persevered. He was, of course, like that other old commercial. Like Timex watch. He took a licking and he kept on ticking. He kept going. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. So not just the Apostle Paul, but how about somebody like Elijah? I would say, man, I would love to follow the example of Elijah's faith. Man, the guy had faith. Yeah, he had his problems. He did. He was far from perfect. But faith to call fire down from heaven and destroy 850 false prophets. Oh, what an example that is. To think of somebody like Daniel. In Daniel chapter 6, they send out people to try and follow him and tail him and find out something that we can find against him. They found nothing. There was a purity in the life of Daniel that just strikes me. What an example to be a Daniel and to have the kind of life where you would say, I have no skeletons in my closet. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything for which to be ashamed. Oh, Elijah, Daniel. What about Joseph in the book of Genesis? There's perseverance for you. The example of Joseph of being by his own brothers thrown into a pit and then pulled up and then sold into slavery. And he goes to work in Egypt at the house of the governor, Potiphar. And his wife, Potiphar's wife, actually tries to seduce Joseph. And he runs from her, but she grabs a piece of his cloak and accuses him of attempted rape. And so because of that, he gets thrown into prison. And it's just one difficulty after another. And it's unfair and it's unjust. And oh, if it would have been me, God, how could you do this to me? I trusted you. I walked with you. I depended on you. I served you. And this is what I get? No. The example from Joseph. Genesis chapter 41, he's in jail because he was accused of attempted rape. And it's there in prison that the Bible says, and the Lord was with Joseph. He persevered in the dark times, in the alone times.